say. Thank you very much. Oh, nice. Thank you very much. Oh, stop it. No, please. Thank you very much. Oh, stop. Oh, you have.
This is Stephen Fry.
Hello.
We are going to invent an alphabet, and I'm going to make some of it up, and Stephen's going to make some of it up, and we're going to need you to help us with some of the letters. But we're going to start with... we're going to start with ambition, Stephen. What is it that you would most now like to do?
Now, it's very hard to answer. I have a theory that is very unpopular in America, that the worst thing you can ever be is goal-oriented. In America, it is taken as a sacred truth that the first step towards self-fulfillment and success is to set yourself goals. And I think that that is the most disastrous thing in life you can ever do, partly because if you miss your goals, you hate yourself and you feel a failure, and if you hit your goals, you are bound to be astonished by the fact that they don't bring any level of happiness. So it's just looking in the wrong direction. So I'm not sure what I'm ambitious to be. If I said I was ambitious to be happy, that would sound very dull. There's no one I am ambitious to go to bed with. There's no one I'm ambitious to meet necessarily. I suppose it's just, what I'm ambitious for is not to turn into a bitter, angry old person. I'm now 52, and if there's anything in the world that upsets me, it is, it's that kind of, I hate this, I hate that. That, you know, when you see newspapers saying, why this is terrible, or people saying that something is crap, or, and those programs like Grumpy Old Men, you know? It's just so easy. It's a lot of, people I like, of Arthur Smith and Will Self, are bright and clever people, just pretending to be angry about things. And I would hope that as I got older, I got more and more accepting of everything, so that if, say, in 30 years' time there's a modern equivalent of Lady Gaga, I want to think that I will say, tunes are so much better now than they ever were. All things are better than they ever were. They may not be, but they're almost certainly not worse. But something happens to you as you age that makes you convinced that they're worse. And I hate that something. I think it's deleterious to the human spirit to believe that your island of youth was somehow privileged and blessed as better, richer, more fulfilling, more artistic, more creative, more innocent. All of that is really a result of sentimentality of the wrong kind, false memory syndrome, and a lack of historicity. Because if you look in history, people have always said that. They've always said it. And I think the best ambition anyone can ever have is to get younger as they get older, to be more accepting and to be less closed. That's what I would hope for.
B is for bored.
Oh, thank you very much.
B is for bored. What makes you bored?
Oh, bored.
I mean, you work at a higher speed than almost anybody I know. So what holds you up?
Bored. I suppose it's very interesting being in the public eye. It relates to ambition. If you'd said, what was I ambitious for when I was a teenager? I've recently had to accept that when I was between 17 and 25, if I'm honest, I was desperate to be famous. I really was. And I know now that we're all supposed to pay lip service to the idea that fame is an illusion, a snare, a terrible rainbow that people chase that will only get further away. It's not the substance of what it is you should be doing, that the modern culture of celebrity is a terrible thing. But nonetheless, when I was a teenager watching Parkinson, I wanted to jump into the television and be part of this glamorous world of extraordinary people. I fantasized about being stopped in shops and asked for an autograph. But what I did not fantasize about was a world that, and oh, how just it is that I should suffer from it, a world that I've welcomed, the digital world, now means that, unlike when I first did become quite well known, everybody now has a camera. And if you want to know what bores me, it is at a signing queue for a book, for example. It used to be fun to be able to go and what's your name, where are you from, without sounding like the Prince of Wales, which is a challenge. Gosh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. But to fall into a conversation is really good fun. But now that's impossible, because the moment someone arrives at the queue, they're looking at the person next to me and going, would it be all right if I had a photograph? And it's not only that they have a camera, whether it's in the form of a phone or a digital camera, it's, of course, they want to be in the picture. So they're giving it to someone else. And that person is like someone who has never seen a reptile being given a chameleon. What? So, how do I? It's just, I've turned it off, I think. It's. If I could have back the hours in which I have gone, oh, get on with it, for sake, get on with it. If I had that back, I would be very happy. So that is when I'm maximally bored, if maximally can be considered an adverb.
Cambridge. What kind of transfer was that for you?
It was a very extraordinary thing for me, and what I'm about to say will sound about as poncy as you could ever be, but being as this is a literary festival, maybe it's allowable. When I was 17, I got arrested by the police, which I wrote about in my first autobiography, and I went to prison. And when I emerged from a custodial sentence, as it were, a custodial period, with 2 years probation. And my parents were understandably at the end of their tether, and they'd been amazing, considering I'd run away from this and I'd been expelled from schools. And so when I arrived back home on probation, I said, I want to do some A-levels. I'd run away from so many schools. And I'd done my O-levels when I was 14, because in those days you did. If you
well, no, most people didn't at 16.
Yeah, but
you were just a lot smarter.
No, I mean, if you could,
people,
yeah, right, yeah, all right. And so, but then I'd seriously kind of screwed up every other opportunity. So they said, well, it's fine if you really want to, but it's up to you. They said we're no longer going to do it. So I knew that Norwich City College, which is like a further education establishment in Norwich, did a 1-year A-level course. So I went, literally the day I got back from Pucklechurch, which is the name of the prison I'd been in, which sounds like a beautiful bed and breakfast somewhere in the Lake District. Welcome to Pucklechurch. But it was, in fact, it was such a hard place, it got shut down. It had riots. I used to get called up by the newspapers to comment on it, like an old boy, talking about his school. So, well, it never happened in my day. But anyway, so there was this queue, and it was the second day of registration for this college, and I was really at the end of the queue on the second day, and I got there, and there was this little man, and his name was Peter Butler. I'll never forget him. He had silver hair and bright blue eyes, and he said, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to do A-levels, I want to do English, French, and History of Art. He said, oh, I think there may be one place left on French, but the other two have gone. You'll have to pick something else. I said, no, those are the ones I want to do. And he said, well, I've just told you, they're oversubscribed. So I looked at him and I said, if you let me do these, I will get A grades, and I will also get a scholarship to Cambridge. You must let me do this.